newscast on Future Television. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's top stories. It is vital to maintain press freedom in Lebanon. The words of Interior Minister Nuhad Mashnou as he tours the offices of local TV station Al Jadid that were shot up the day before. Turkey's top military commanders meet to replace almost half of their generals in the radical shakeup after the failed coup. And Syrian President Bashar al-Assad offers an amnesty to armed rebels battling his forces if they surrender. It is vital to maintain press freedom in Lebanon, according to Interior Minister Nuhad Mashnou. He is currently touring the offices of the local TV station Al Jadid that was shot up a day before. He was quoted as saying that they are keen to preserve media freedom and enable it to carry out its duty completely without any threats. He said this as he inspected the Al Jadid television building near the Egyptian embassy in Beirut's Bir Hassan suburb. He said investigations will be relentless and culprits will be brought to justice. Ibrahim Halabi, the administrative and public relations manager at Al Jadid, said that the matter is in the hands of the judiciary now, adding that there are no contacts with any political bloc. Al Jadid on Wednesday accused Speaker Nabih Berri of orchestrating the attack, adding the latest photo to its ongoing war of words with the speaker's affiliated channel NBN. Turkey's top military commanders are meeting to replace almost half of their generals in a radical shakeup after the failed coup, as authorities shut down dozens of media outlets in a widening crackdown. The hastily convened meeting came after the government ordered the discharge of 149 generals, nearly half of the armed forces' entire contingent of 358, for complicity in the putsch bid. The number of foreigners visiting Turkey has dropped significantly, over 40% in June, to its lowest level this year, as the impact of attacks and previous tensions with Russia caused havoc for the vital tourism industry. Statistics show that the latest figures do not take into account the June 28 attack on Istanbul's main international airport, which was blamed on extremists, and the July 15 military coup, which are likely to have further unnerved tourists. The fall will worry many working in the tourism industry, as June is usually the start of the popular summer season. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is offering amnesty to armed rebels battling his forces if they surrender. He was quoted saying, "Everyone carrying arms and sought by justice excluded from full punishment if they hand themselves and lay down their weapons." According to the Syrian state television Sana, quoting the presidential decree on the 3 months amnesty offer, the reprieve also includes any rebel who frees a hostage, according to the text, and it comes as opposition neighborhoods of Aleppo city are effectively surrounded by pro-government forces, sparking fears for the more than 200,000 people trapped there. Assad's ally, Russia, said it had launched a large-scale operation with the Syrian government to open humanitarian corridors for civilians and fighters fleeing the northern city. Coming up next, President Obama implores Americans to help Hillary Clinton beat Donald Trump. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. On the third night of the Democratic National Convention, U.S. Vice President Joe Biden said that in the current world climate, it was complicated and uncertain. The threats are too great to elect Donald Trump the President of the United States. Biden was one of many Democrats who touted their candidate, former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, as far better suited than Trump to keep the country safe. The Republican gave his critics fresh fodder for attack with remarks that the Clinton campaign said posed a possible national security threat. Grabbing the spotlight at a news conference in Miami, Trump urged Russia to find and release tens of thousands of emails that Clinton did not hand over to U.S. officials as part of a probe into her use of a private email system while she was Secretary of State.
This is a complicated and uncertain world we live in. The threats are too great. The times are too uncertain to elect Donald Trump as President of the United States. Now, let me finish. No major party No major party nominee in the history of this nation has ever known less or has been less prepared to deal with our national security. We cannot elect a man who exploits our fears of ISIS and other terrorists, who has no plan whatsoever to make us safer. A man who embraces the tactics of our enemies, torture, religious intolerance. You all know, all the Republicans know, that's not who we are. It betrays our values. It alienates those who we need in the fight against ISIS. Donald Trump, with all his rhetoric, would literally make us less safe. We cannot elect a man who belittles our closest allies while embracing dictators like Vladimir Putin. No, I mean it. A man who seeks to sow division in America for his own gain and disorder around the world. A man who confuses bluster with strength. We simply cannot let that happen as Americans. Period.
New York media mogul Michael Bloomberg assailed fellow billionaire Donald Trump, calling his U.S. presidential race a con and ripping into his history of bankruptcies and lawsuits. Formerly a Republican and now an independent, Bloomberg was for the most part greeted warmly by the audience at the Democratic National Convention in the Wells Fargo Center Arena, where he threw his support behind Clinton.
There are times when I disagree with Hillary Clinton, but let me tell you, whatever our disagreements may be, I've come here to say we must put them aside for the good of our country. We must unite around the candidate who can defeat a dangerous demagogue. Today, as an independent and an entrepreneur and a former mayor, I believe we need a president who is a problem solver, not a bomb.
Democratic Vice Presidential nominee U.S. Senator Tim Kaine laid into Republican candidate Donald Trump, describing the billionaire as a one-man wrecking crew who cannot be trusted with America's future. Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton chose Kaine of Virginia as her running mate last week, opting for a partner at the November 8 election who has wide experience in public service to draw a contrast with Trump.
Today, for my wife Ann and every strong woman in this country, for Nat, Woody, and Anella, and every young person starting out in life to make their own dreams real, for every man and woman serving our country in the military, at home or abroad, for every working family working hard to get ahead and stay ahead, for my parents and in-laws and every senior citizen who hopes for a dignified retirement with health care and research to end diseases like Alzheimer's, for every American who wants our country to be a beloved community where people aren't demeaned because of who they are, but rather respected for their contributions to this nation, and for all of us who know that the brightest future for our country is the one that we build together, and for my friend Hillary Clinton, I humbly accept my party's nomination to be Vice President of the United States.
President Barack Obama painted an optimistic picture of America's future and offered full-throated support for Hillary Clinton's bid to defeat Republican Donald Trump in a speech that electrified the Democratic National Convention. Obama praised Clinton's understanding of the world and domestic issues and her character, and urged Democrats to enable Clinton to finish the job he started with his election nearly 8 years ago, in a rousing speech that capped tonight when party luminaries took to the stage to contrast the party's new standard bearer.
Specific ideas to invest in new jobs, to help workers share in their company's profits, to help put kids in preschool and put students through college without taking on a ton of debt. That's what leaders do. And then there's Donald Trump. Don't boo, vote. Yeah, the Donald is not really a plans guy. He's not really a facts guy either. He calls himself a business guy, which is true, but I have to say I know plenty of businessmen and women who've achieved remarkable success without leaving a trail of lawsuits and unpaid workers and people feeling like they got cheated. Hillary's got her share of critics. She has been caricatured by the right and by some on the left. She has been accused of everything you can imagine and some things that you cannot. But she knows that's what happens when you're under a microscope for 40 years. She knows that sometimes during those 40 years she's made mistakes, just like I have, just like we all do. That's what happens when we try. We battled for a year and a half. Let me tell you, it was tough. Because Hillary was tough. I was worn out. She was doing everything I was doing, but just like Ginger Rogers, it was backwards in heels. See, my grandparents, they came from the heartland. Their ancestors began settling there about 200 years ago. I don't know if they had their birth certificates, but they were there. Now I'm ready to pass the baton and do my part as a private citizen. So this year, in this election, I'm asking you to join me to reject cynicism and reject fear, and to summon what is best in us to elect Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States and show the world we still believe in the promise of this great nation. Thank you for this incredible journey. Let's keep it going. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. It is vital to maintain press freedom in Lebanon, according to Interior Minister Nuhad Mashnou. He's touring the offices of Al Jadid, who have been shut up the day before. Turkey's top military commanders meet to replace almost half of their generals in a radical shakeup after the failed coup as authorities shut down dozens of media outlets. And Syrian President Bashar al-Assad offers an amnesty to armed rebels battling his forces if they surrender. Those are your Thursday headlines live on Future Television. Catch us again tomorrow for all the latest. Have a good night.